3, 2, 1, go. And we're live. This is Retraice segment number 103. 103, right? For January 1st, 2023. I can't see it on my screen. I had to... Let's do this again. Oh, geez. It's 103. I know it's 103, but... Okay. January 1st, 2023. I'm clearly prepared for the new year. That blows my whole rhythm. What are we doing? It's the beginning of our deep dive into AIMA4e. And this is day 1 and chapter 1. And we're trying to establish some norms. I'm not going to teach the book. I've already said that. I'm not going to try to replace the book with my own little short version because it's such a good book that, it doesn't need replacing. It is its own best version. And there's so much to talk about. Okay. It's January 1st, 10 p.m. Eastern, by the way, if you don't have a clock or a watch or some way of discovering the time for yourself, helpful. Every night we tell you the time here on Retraice. Retraice is for outsiders. The Retraice is about what's going on out there. The short answer to that is computer. We're off to a great start in 2023, but I didn't say 2022. That's good. I'm definitely going to do that. All right. This is just going to be a quick one. Okay, amendments and corrections first, 102. Yesterday I talked about Kurzweil and all that, and man, I probably just stepped in it. Like I shouldn't go into that stuff. It arrived like so much. There's so much heat in the debate about whether he's right, whether he's a con man, whether all this stuff, and I just sort of was reminded of that as I went through trying to dig up the sources and cite all the things that I said that stuff I haven't thought about in years and came out during that segment. And so let's put it this way. Well, first of all, I made a big mistake. I said he said 2042. So I can't find anywhere that he said 2042. I must have heard somebody say that he said that, but he seems to have always said 2045 for the singularity. The only sort of exception to that is he talks about a congressional debate about like Social Security the projections of which ended in 2042, and he says that's roughly like the singularity time frame. So maybe, I don't remember reading that, but maybe that's where I got the 2042. Anyway, our timer is going to stay at 2042. Let's have a look here. Let's have a look at our timer over here on the, I don't know. There you go. So our 2042 clock, 18 years, 364 days, 1 hour and 58 minutes. I'm pretty confident in these clocks. I was doubting them for a little bit yesterday as I sort of dug around trying to find a good one, and then ended up having to sort of write a little bit of my own. But these seem to be accurate based on my own little manual calculations and that sort of thing. So 18 years until what? Until nothing. Okay, so nothing happens in 2042. Nobody said anything's happening in 2042 except me. But I think of it this way, and I've always latched on to 2042 because, now here we go. Like I know people are gonna say I bought into the singularity stuff. I'm not a singularitarian. I am not a rapture of the nerds type of guy. I'm not gonna be raptured if they're rapturing the nerds. I wish I were a nerd. I'm not. I don't think I'm smart enough to be a nerd. I am not, and I don't think Kurzweil's a cult leader either. Like Sam Harris. I went and found where he called him a carnival barker, and just before that he called him a cult leader. He's not a cult leader. I don't think he's a cult. Look, he sells supplements. People get on him for that. But if the guy is trying, to sell supplements by writing the books that he's writing, he is the worst supplements con man. It's so inefficient. The amount of work that he's done. Even if you don't trust his methods, anyway. Like I said, some things he says, I'm like, ugh. But overall, I think the guy is worth listening to and a serious person. He might have some crazy in him, and he might have more crazy in him the older he gets. Some people get crazier when they get old, or crazier as they get older, and some people start out crazy and then get more sane as they get older. I don't know which one he is, but there's so much vitriol on the internet. Did you know this? Have you ever been on the internet? Holy crap. Anyway, I'm trying to protect myself a little bit from it here, but it's too late. I've already said things I'm going to be vitrioled for. I'm going to keep that clock right there, damn it, 2042. That's the day. Because, the way that I think about it, let's say that the singularity happened. I shouldn't say it with attitude. Like, now I'm a skeptic. No. I was always a certain level of skeptic, but I also think there's a good chance that he's going to be approximately right about something approximating what he says. I see even there, I'm getting all Weasley. I'm not being Weasley. Singularity is happening in 2045, bitches. I don't believe that. But, it's putting things on the calendar changes the game, which is why we have calendars. Put it on your calendar. 2045, 2042, 2099. The only thing is, things that are too far away might as well be infinity away. I mean, 2100? A lot of experts, they poll the experts at different times about what's going to happen. And first of all, experts are not, I've read that the studies don't suggest that experts are any better at predicting. Actually, that's in AIMA4e Chapter 1. The experts aren't any better at they cite a study, better at predicting the future of their field than outsiders. But they poll the experts, and, people are keeping track of when the experts think that certain artificial intelligence milestones will be met. But if I tell you things are going down in 2021, it's going to be like global warming in the 70s and 80s, where it's like, even if you took it seriously, it's like, it's so far away. Let's worry about it when it's too late to do something about it. No. 2042, bitches. But I think of it as like, if something is, if we really are on track for something that's approximately going to happen in 2045, then, the last year that you'll be able to do anything about it you have to be aiming for ahead of schedule, is the way I think of it. So 2042, 18 years, 364 days, and 1 hour and 54 minutes. Get ready for 2042. Okay. I knew I should have started. I didn't mean to start talking about that yesterday, and now I'm talking about it again today. But anyway, nobody ever said 2042 except me. I'm doubling down. I'm going full Trump on this thing. 2042 is what everybody should have been saying. Take that to the bank. Okay, that's amendments and corrections with full latitude for Re102. Reread Chapter 1 of AIMA4e today, and it was good. I hadn't read it in about a year, and it reminded me of a lot of stuff. I'm not going to go through it all. It's more like it's a good overview of artificial intelligence. It sort of injects a theory of AI. Of course it does. It's a textbook, and they've got a theory or beliefs about how to think about AI. So, and then it gives history and engineering, intellectual foundations, and then, projections about the future, and then it's just fantastic. It's just a fantastic book. There's nothing I can add to it, and yet I keep talking. But there's something I noticed just like a few minutes before I went live that I'd never really noticed before. And I don't know if this is profound or not, but it just struck me. So at the top of each chapter, there's like 28 chapters, something like that. At the top of each chapter, they have sort of a summary statement. Very helpful. And a little sort of like a super tight abstract. I'm not talking about like the first couple of paragraphs. I mean, really like a one sentence summary statement. And for the introduction, it says this. It's not a full sentence. It's a sentence. It's a clause or something. So introduction, in which we try to explain why we consider artificial intelligence to be a subject most worthy of study, and in which we try to decide what exactly it is, this being a good thing to decide before embarking. Okay, great. Thanks for the thing that struck me about it is it seems to me like we shouldn't decide what it is. If AI is, it's a science and it's an engineering endeavor. It's like they're trying to understand something and they're also trying to build it. It's a yin and yang thing. You can't really understand these things until you build them. Who was it that Vico or somebody who said, "I only know what I build"? Great. Now I gotta go dig that up. But it's this idea that like we're not going to just be able to introspect. We're not just going to be able to, shine lights and cameras on intelligent entities and figure this thing out. Like we're really going to have to build it ourselves. I think has become, if I don't know when it became a fundamental premise of the discipline of artificial intelligence, but it seems to be one now, and it makes perfect sense to me. I'm not questioning it, but it is weird to decide what it is. Why do we get to decide? We get to decide what to do and what to think about it, but we don't get to decide what it is. But anyway, I sound like I'm like, oh, look at me, I found some flaw in their thinking. I didn't find any flaw in their thinking. It's just an interesting word that they say twice. in that short little span. Okay, look, there's one thing I did want to, actually two things. Well, first I wanted to call out this thing that I'd forgotten about, this analogy that they draw to the Wright brothers and the first flying machines. They do it in the context, this is on page 2, of, okay, so they have 4 different aspects of intelligence that they sort of cross into into 4 categories. They intersect. 4 shouldn't lead to 4, but it does. It's not combinatorics. Okay, anyway, you can either judge intelligence, from the human standard, like, are they thinking like a human? Is this entity thinking like a human, or you can judge it by the absolute sort of mathematical rationality standard. Is this thing thinking rationally? Because humans aren't very rational in certain contexts, in lots of contexts. So human, you can think of intelligence from a human or an absolute rationality point of view, and then the other sort of pair that they that almost forms a spectrum is the thought versus behavior dichotomy. So is it thinking rationally or is it behaving rationally? And so then they go through and they do a section on each kind. So acting humanely, they call that the Turing test approach. Not humanly. The Turing test approach. Thinking humanly is the cognitive modeling approach. Thinking rationally is the laws of thought approach. Acting rationally is the rational agent approach. And then they sort of settle on the rational agent approach. That's the one that they embrace, and blah, blah, blah. Okay, the thing that I wanted to add to that, let's go to the diagram. And this comes from Hoffman's, what is it called? The reality illusion. What is it? Oh, crap. I don't have it near me. What is it? Donald Hoffman, The Case Against Reality. Okay, so, and we've talked about this on Retraice before. I don't remember where. I'll find it and put it in the notes. But if we add one more, and so you're seeing 2 diagrams here that represent the same thing from different sort of, in different frames of, in different frames. So on the left, let's say that we're talking about dimensions or a spectrum of values. So like a little, an intelligent entity would be some dot in a 3-dimensional space. It's either more or more human. It thinks like, that the agent is more human thinking, or it's more rational, like purely mathematically rational. It's more a rational thinker than a rational behavior, or maybe it's right smack dab in the middle. And then I add this 3rd dimension, which is the model. And so we call the first one an agent model. Is it human or is it rational? The second one is an evidence, is what evidence we're using. I wouldn't call it an evidence model. It's just what evidence we're using. Are we using as evidence the thinking or the behavior, or smack dab in the middle, both? I want to add to that the environment model. Is the agent intelligent with respect to the actual environment, the truth, or is it intelligent with respect to fitness? We've talked about the good model, RTFM, right, true, fit, and mix, that we sort of concocted. That something can be good because it's the moral right thing to do. It can be good because it's true, like it has real fidelity to the reality, if we're able to determine such a thing. And then it can be good for being good for one's fitness. So it doesn't really matter whether it's true. It just leads you to survive longer and have more babies and that sort of thing. Right, true, fit. And then the mixture of those 3 is really what happens in practice. Well, this environment, those are, this truth versus fitness that Hoffman pointed out. And he argues that, evolution, the algorithm of Darwinian evolution would not lead to creatures who had a good perception of reality. It would only lead to creatures who had a good the best perception of reality that would lead to fitness, or the most fit perception of reality. It doesn't matter what's underlying. And then he gives the sort of computer model of a desktop environment versus the actual hardware, where what's really happening in a computer is voltages on wires and on a wafer for the most part. But what we see is a desktop environment, whatever you're looking at right now, right? So So I wanted to add that to their modeling of intelligent agents. And that's it. That's that part. And then the other thing I wanted to quickly mention is this. So the artificial flight thing. Yeah, we've talked about thinking about artificial intelligence. What did I say about this? Jeez. Well, we need to think in terms of the difference that they call here, the difference between making birds and making planes. When we invented artificial flight, nobody was trying to make artificial birds. We wanted to make something. Oh yeah, submarines and swimming is the other thing that we got from Dijkstra, Edgar Dijkstra. So whether machines can think is like asking whether machines can think is like asking whether submarines can swim. It's sort of a nonsensical question. Asking whether planes can flap their wings. Planes can fly, birds can fly. We don't have a problem with that word fly the way we have it with think. And crucially, birds have brains. So the idea that, well, we certainly didn't build artificial birds in order to learn. Yeah, of course, because first of all, and we didn't build artificial fish when we needed submarines. And the guy who invented submarines is in here, chapter 1. What did he invented something else. Anyway, funny how things are connected. Okay, so if we build artificial intelligence, as if we would in a way that's analogous to having built artificial birds. Like imagine if we had artificial birds flying all over, because we just wanted to prove that we understood flight, and the only way to understand flight is to build a real bird ourselves. But like if that bird, the analogy breaks down because the bird has a brain. The thing that makes artificial birds flying all over the sky scary is because of the brains. It's not the flight. Whereas if we then move to the generalization of artificial intelligence, it's all about the brain. So it doesn't quite call out the concern. But Dan Dennett in one of the Brockman books, the second one, Possible Minds, makes the point that we should be building tools, not colleagues. Okay, I think of it like we want R2D2 and C3PO. We don't want Smith from the Matrix. we don't even want. Well, there are other bad guys in the Matrix, but he's the main one, right? We want Star Wars, not the Matrix, obviously. But this is not like flight in the sense that we can't accidentally build a bird while we're trying to make a plane. But the concern in artificial intelligence is that we can definitely accidentally build a Smith when we're trying to make R2D2. So I wanted to call that out. And that's it. That's just chapter 1. The thing about chapter 1 is it's all soil and it's going to be callbacks to mix. Am I mixing a metaphor? Is callback a metaphor? To mix metaphors. It doesn't. There's no point. This is the generalist AI mind in a nutshell. This 35-page chapter. It's AI generalism. Immediately in chapter 2, we get into intelligent agents and agent architecture, which we've talked about. Table-driven agent, and so we're specializing from chapter 2. But from chapter 1, we're only specializing into artificial intelligence. From chapter 2, we're specializing within artificial intelligence, and we don't choose a specialty and then stick to that. The rest of the book is devoted to the different specialties of artificial intelligence, from a high level and introductory point of view. But chapter 1 is like screaming all of the origins, both in time and in conceptual space, of the later chapters. So that's what we're going to be calling back to it a lot, etc. Okay, that's it. This has been Re103. I'm getting used to a new pace and a new routine, and I'm a slow effing reader. So I didn't have 4 hours of reading in my daily routine until today, and I get used to it. On top of everything else, but it's fun. It's great. And but tomorrow we're going to go at 2 p.m. again. Last holiday schedule. I got holiday commitments. I got to do them. It's the last holiday change of schedule. We'll be back to 10 p.m. normal time, going forward from there. This has been Re103. Retraice.com, RETRAICE.com. Same time, not same time, 2 p.m. I just said it. Signing off.